Leclerc leaves Ferrari, Piastri never wanted by Zak Brown, and will Horner replace Frederic Vasseur? Charles Leclerc could potentially leave Scuderia Ferrari for 2027 because in the last 2 days after poor performance in Singapore Grand Prix, there's been rumors in internet that his manager Nicolas Todt was contacting several teams like Aston Martin, Mercedes and McLaren, even though these kind of meetings are held a lot in F1 because even when there is a contract for driver in certain team, these meetings have only one goal, is to provide their driver a better position in contract negotiation, which is either more salary or solid position in his F1 team, which is always like being a number one driver. In Leclerc case, he's always been their fun boy. However, he hasn't had a car that was capable of fighting for a championship throughout the whole year. As we know, in 2019, when Charles Leclerc joined Ferrari, he had a tremendous car that led him to win his first ever Grand Prix in Belgium and then lately in Monza. However, this car was investigated after FIA and was declared illegal, so that ruined Ferrari's plans for 2020 and 2021, which give them more time to focus on the new ground defect era. That resulted in some pleasant results in the start in 2022, which gave us hope that Charles Leclerc could win his first world title in Ferrari. However, lately there have been a couple of reasons that led them to lose this title to Red Bull. It's like bad upgrades to the car, poor execution, and even some stress in Leclerc's mind because it was his first ever title fight. In 2023, Ferrari built a horrendous car that just was eating tires in the race like crazy and gave them some more poles in the race and even one win in Singapore when Science gave Norris a DRS and held this position for him. In 2024, they had a decent car, however it took for them too long to bring some upgrades in the mid-season that could give them a hope and lately a chance to fight for a Constructors' Championship with McLaren. In 2025, Ferrari built a tricky car that is decent in the race pace, however in qualifying it's tough for them to properly warm up their tires, which leads to a low grid positions for Sunday's race. However, Charles Leclerc was able to bring home at least 5 podiums in this season, which could become first winless year in Vasseur's area. Plus, Charles Leclerc, who's been Scuderia fanboy, was more than critical in relations to his team. And there have been rumors that some people in Maranello, like engineers and staff members, because of this, were in a bad mood in terms of Leclerc media statement, because they weren't used to him being such a critical man to his team, but always like a Scuderia fanboy and glaring that he will bring Ferrari to the top no matter what. Was this words a lie? And Leclerc's patience is running out because he is right now at 28 and has only 8 wins to his account. So where we will see Leclerc end up in 2027? Drop your thoughts and predictions in the comment down below. Not moving from transfer saga in F1, in the last 2 days there have been a really interesting news regarding Alex Palou, Oscar Piastri and Zak Brown. Alex Palou is a multiple-time championship winner in IndyCar, is willing to give up his successful career in order to make his dream come true and be an F1 driver. However, in order to do that, he had to sign the contract with someone. So he made it true in 2022 with McLaren. He even had a private meeting with CEO of McLaren, Zak Brown, and was promised a chance to be in a F1 program with McLaren lately. However, team principal back then had some different plans and signed Oscar Piastri. So Alex was promised that his performance and Oscar's will be evaluated at the end of the 2023 in order to find out who to put in a fun car for 2024. But even then, he had a thought that this will be a small chance for him. So, did he have an alternative? Yes, because in 2023, there was a rumors that he could drive for AlphaTauri. He even had a contact with Helmut Marko directly. But then, Helmut received a phone call from Zak directly, and after that was no longer interested in Alex. And this resulted in some legal problems for both sides, because they terminated their contract and right now they are in court because McLaren claims that they want $20 million from Alex as a result of their termination. They don't have a driver for their program and some sponsor problems. So there is a rising point. Will Oscar Piastri face some challenges from his team in the remaining races of this year's title fight? Because as we revealed, he wasn't a preferable choice for one of their team members. And as we've seen in Singapore Grand Prix, after their crash, he wasn't pleasant with his team decisions, not giving his position back. So that makes Piastri's performance in this year's title fight even more impressive, because he has a lead over his team, who is McLaren man, because he was raised by them, and that shows us how complex behind the scenes process in F1 are, because when even there is a great performance by young driver, there is a complex things behind it. So now let's talk about other CEO. However, he is a former. This is all about Christian Horner, who was sacked by Red Bull this year. In the last few days, after poor performance in Singapore, Ferrari was rumored that their president, John Elkann, who is a very emotional guy, wants to sign Christian Horner to Ferrari. Even though they extended Vasseur's contract back in the season, right now after poor performance that isn't satisfying for them and for the Tifosi, they want to change it. For now, it's only words. However, who would want to sign a man that has led a Red Bull team since the start and been in F1 for 20 years, plus gave Red Bull multiple chances and built a structure that now is one of the most successful teams in F1. But there is a striking point, because Christian only wants to be a shareholder, Toto Wolff in Mercedes. Hence, so what do you think about potential replacement of Frederic Vasseur for Christian Horner in a Ferrari? Now let's talk about the news that also appeared in the internet after Leclerc's words of criticism to his team that if Charles leaves Ferrari, they have a potential signings to replace him, who are Oscar Piastri, who is fighting for his first world championship in McLaren with his teammate Lando Norris. Plus, his manager Mark Webber said that he must complete his program at McLaren, win the championship, but in the meantime it would be preferable for him to improve his Italian. And the second option is Gabriele Bortoleto, who is right now in Sauber and has a teammate Nico Hülkenberg, who he leads in qualifying head-to-head, however lose it in points and podium finishes. Yeah, you've heard right, podium finishes, because Nico Hülkenberg claimed his first podium finish in F1 during the British Grand Prix, which was just a wild weekend.
No one has ever waited as long to stand on a Formula One podium. Get rid of that stat and celebrate Nico Hülkenberg, 239 starts and a podium finisher in Formula One.
So now, drop your thoughts and predictions. Who do you think will be more suitable replacement for Charles Leclerc if he leaves Ferrari? And thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next one.